Hello. I'm going to talk about a famous Indian guru called Nisargadatta Maharaj. He is a guru that died in 1981, famous in the West for his Advaita. His most famous book, and the one that most people get, is called I Am That, which is a bright yellow book you can buy on Amazon quite easily. I read it when I was young. But last week I discovered a much earlier book by Nisargadatta, a book that was published about 10 years earlier and had a completely different teaching. I was quite surprised, and it seems to me this is another example of the decay of spiritual teachings, the decay of knowledge. Gurdjieff used to say that knowledge is a kind of material. It's like a sandcastle. It's very clear to look at. It has sharp edges, turrets. It has a moat. But after a couple of tides, the sharp edges have gone. It starts to sink into the sand, and after a few more tides, it's no more than a lump, and a few more tides again, and all the knowledge is gone, washed away. And everything is like that, even knowledge, even spiritual knowledge. It's very important to get as close as you possibly can to the source. To the source you must go. You must bend down and stick your ear next to the lips of your teacher. It's not just people who decay willingly or unwillingly. It's not just people who decay spiritual teachings. It is a law of life that everything decays, like a flower, like a rose, so full of life. But after a few days, it withers away until the wind takes its petals and nothing is left. I'm going to read sections of these books and compare them. Now I'm going to start with a very popular book that everybody reads, I Am That. Here are some extracts. There is no consciousness without life. They are both one. But in reality only the ultimate is. The rest is a matter of name and form, and as long as you cling to the idea that only what has name and shape exists, the Supreme will appear to you non-existing. When you understand that names and shapes are hollow shells without any content whatsoever, and what is real is nameless and formless, pure energy of life and light of consciousness, you will be at peace, immersed in the deep silence of reality. There are the two, the person and the witness, the observer. When you see them as one and go beyond, you are in the supreme state. It is not perceivable, because it is what makes perception possible. It is beyond being and non-being. It is neither the mirror nor the image in the mirror. It is what is, the timeless reality, unbelievably hard and solid. All happens by itself. You are asking the question and you are supplying the answer. And you know the answer when you ask the question. All is a play in consciousness. All divisions are illusory. You can know the false only. The true you must yourself be. That is an extract from I Am That. This kind of talk we find everywhere today. Everything is everything and nothing is nothing, being and non-being, existing and non-existing, the person, the witness, the observer, the awareness. It's a stream of ephemeral statements. There are no sharp edges in it. It's all being washed away. Nothing and nothingness, everything is everythingness, nobody, nothing, anything, everything. What does it mean? It's like a dream. It is the sandcastle that has been washed away into nothing. It has a flavor, but a flavor that is weak. It is weakened over time. Nisargadatta's spirit was at the source, but we are well downstream with these kinds of words. And I tell you something, the many seekers on this planet, the seekers who are not seeking, the seekers who do not wish to find, and there are many like that, they love this kind of talk. They don't like religion because religion means you have to stop drinking. They don't like practice because practice means you have to cut out the bullshit. They don't really like teachers because teachers make you do things. And when you're looking to be lost and lost again, you want emptiness words. You want to be told nothing is nothing, everything is everything, awareness is awareness, and nothing is nothing. The person who wrote this book was a Western man, a white man, Maurice Friedman. He was not an Indian, and he did not transcribe Nisargadatta's words exactly. He picked and chose what he wanted to hear. Nothing is nothing and everything being and non-being. That's what Maurice Friedman wanted, and it was popular in the West. You see, these kinds of words don't have the religious garlands in them, and so they conform to this culture that we have at the moment. The culture since World War II has been non-religious. It has been scientific. And that's why these kinds of books have become popular. Now, let's go back to the 1963 book by Vasudeo Madhav Kulkarni and Sri Ram Narayan Chauhan. This book does not have an ISBN number. I will read from this earlier book. The consciousness of one's own being, of the world of things, and its supporting primal force are experienced all at once. Awareness of one's own being does not mean here the usual psychical consciousness of one's self as an individual, as opposed to the non-self, but implies the revelation of the mystery of existence. Prior to this, there is no experience of Brahman as being there, in the utter ignorance of one's own being. But the moment one is aware of this, he is directly aware of the world and the Brahman too. At this stage, the stage prior to the cosmic awareness, the self and its experiences are limited only to the worldly life. This life starts with the birth and ends in death. It is obvious that after death experiences are not a thing to be had in this life. To be aware of ourself and of the world and God all of a sudden is a great mystery indeed. It is an unexpected gain. It is an absorbing and mysterious event, extremely significant and great, but it brings with it the heavy responsibility of self-preservation, sustenance, and self-development as well, and nobody can avoid it. With intense love and heartfelt devotion, the devotee propitiates God, and when he is blessed by His vision and grace, he feels ever happy in His presence. The constant presence establishes a virtual identity between the two. While seeking the presence of the Supreme Soul, the Bhakta renounces all associations in his life. The aspirant in the present context means one who thinks of the spiritual life and thought. Spiritual thought is the thought of the Spirit, the highest and the best. This seeking after the meaning of the highest is called the first half by the saints. A proper understanding of this results in the vision of God, and eventually matures into the attainment of the true nature of the self in the latter half. The rationale of the search for the spiritual life is to prepare for the eternal life. From the moment of the consciousness of I and not I, one has to pull on with unwanted things and is whisked away from the desired ones. Reading of the lives and works of the past incarnations of God, of rishis and yogins, and of saints and sages, singing of the glories of the name, visiting temples, and a constant meditation on these result in the initial photic and phonic experiences of the mystical life. His desires are satisfied to an extent now. Thinking that he has had the vision of God, he intensifies his efforts in the direction of fondly remembering the name of God and His worship. In this state of mind, the Bhakta has a glimpse of his cherished deity, quite frequently, which he takes to be the divine vision and is satisfied with it. Om Tat Sat. That is April 1953, Nisargadatta Maharaj. That is a book that has not passed through Western minds, and Western hands, and Western Amazon publishing. That is a real book. He speaks of God, of saints. He has very clear details here that you go from ignorance to the recognition of God and the soul at once. In other words, the mystical revelation of God and the soul, meaning the universal self and the personal self, arise instantaneously together.